Good evening. The time is 6:23. This is the November 19th, 2023 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Our first order of business tonight is to review the cases in work session or pre-session, and then we'll reconvene in general session somewhere around just after 6:30. So with that, I'll convene to our work session.
I think it's a little free. You think so?
Yeah, a little foggy out there. It was this morning at least.
Okay. We'll start with the roll call tonight.
Yes, sir. Mr. Haas?
Here.
Mr. Portman? Not here. Sue Blankenship?
Present.
Kent is not here. Mr. Maurer?
Present.
Cindy Bishop?
Present.
Mr. Guerra?
Present.
All right. And then we've got myself, Mr. Steer, and Ms. Cammy assisting us
No
tonight.
food and your staff doesn't show up. That is so weird.
I know.
But it's typical. If they're food, they'll show up. All right, what do we got on tap for tonight?
All right, so Mr. Steer has the first item.
Thank you, Ms. Perone Boswell. Mine is the change in use on 767 West Main. So they're changing from retail, they're asking for the ability to have two restaurant users. One of them is known as the Mr. Henry's Ice Cream, the other Spec. And so it's really what we're looking for down there is restaurant users. Ice cream is ideal because, you know, it's not that intense. It's the neighborhood, you know, it doesn't generate smells and that sort of thing. So, so we're all in favor of it. There is a dumpster location, somewhat of an issue. They're wanting it on the south end, directly abutting the southern property. And we've asked them to move it at least the same setback as their structure. And so I asked them to go ahead and submit what they wanted, and we would base our recommendation on what we feel is right. They are creating the need for the dumpster by changing their uses. So we think that the location should be more north on their site. And then also the angle of the dumpster enclosure will need to be shifted a little bit depending on which way Republic's coming from. So they've still got those issues to work out, but nothing major.
There's 4 people out there.
Okay, they're probably
The applicant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on that one?
So, so Matt, why do you want to move it more north?
So it has less impact to the neighbor to the south.
I thought that was the Coppell Arts Center. I got my directions mixed up.
No, well, so this is one lot north of the intersection there at Travis and
Okay.
West Main.
Gotcha.
Did it
Thanks, Matt.
it reference outdoor seating?
Yeah, they do have a few outdoor seats, which
Okay.
I'll show on the floor plan.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out where they were, but
Yeah, directly out in front. Oh,
Which
So
kind of
you-
makes sense.
right
oh,
there.
right there.
And
Okay.
that's where you want to see people.
Oh, yeah. So is the sidewalk going to be wider than normal there to have some casual seating?
Yeah, it's pretty wide there
Yeah.
right now.
All right, so item number 6 is AstraZeneca. So we saw this just a few months ago. So since they came in, they started doing, you know, more deeper engineering, and they're looking at, they're still gonna do the tank farm. Really, it's a matter of do the lines go from the tank farm underground to the warehouse, or is it gonna go overhead? So they're preferring to do an overhead line. So the difference being it's more accessible in case something happens, versus if it's underground, they're gonna have to dig up the parking lot to get to it. So it allows them, you know, a little bit more flexibility. It's gonna be like, I think 23 feet off the ground. So it's not like trucks are gonna be hitting it or anything like that. It's at least 10 feet from the tanker. Tankers are not gonna go under that anyway. They're supposed to go around the other side. But we have an exhibit just showing that even if a tanker were to go there, there's still at least another 10 feet.
Any health safety concerns if it does get hit?
No, because it's got like at the gas station, right? It's got the auto shut off and all this other stuff. They're gonna place it in a landscape island, and they're gonna have the ballers and stuff around it, so creating some extra protection around it.
Do we have anything like that here in Coppell now?
I don't know.
Or anywhere in the Metroplex for that matter?
I think this is pretty standard in other places, so, but I'll let them answer that. I don't know.
Well, they have
specifically.
tanks now, right?
Right, so it's a matter of getting the liquid from here to there.
Yeah,
So instead of going underground,
yeah.
it's gonna go a pipe
But they
route
currently have some tanks
right inside the building.
inside, yeah.
Yeah. So has nothing to do with, are we gonna allow for the tanks or anything? It's whether it's the lines go underground
Yeah.
or if we allow them to have the pipe rack. And really that's it.
Okay. Review the council.
Yeah, so, we did go to council on Tuesday, so they approved ordinances for Forest Creek, so the one on Denton Tap, with the office and the residence. Blackberry Farms, the STR at 1334 Bradford Drive, and the Coppell Greens pool setback, so those ordinances were approved. We also took before them, the live work on Coppell Road near Heath. They were doing the modifications to the elevations and to allow for the retail,
Oh, yeah.
so that got approved. And then Matt took the Lovett Coppell Business Center, so 121, big office warehouse with the smaller retail office. So that was approved.
Weirdly enough, all those properties, there's 3 of them, they're on Zillow for sale right now.
Oh, out there at that site?
Which STR was approved?
1334 Bradford?
Was
That was
that
the
the,
ordinance.
was that the one we denied?
No, so that one, they did not appeal it, so it did not go forward
Oh,
to
okay.
city council. And then Lake Breeze, the senior active living apartments, they asked for continuance, so that is gonna be continued to December 12th, because their consultant had a conflict, so that'll be on December 12th.
Cool. Anything else? Are there any new appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission, I understand?
You've all been reappointed, so welcome back. And I believe I think you should have gotten an email for training, I think it's on December 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you need more information,
I can't recall, do you have records of the last open records? So do we have to do that again?
probably.
Okay. Listen to the violins again.
It said unless you've done it recently, and so I was asking the question, what qualifies as recently?
Yeah, within the last term or two.
Last decade might be?
I like the violins between each
Yeah.
segment, yeah, that's good.
Okay, nothing else?
That's it.
Do we need a break before we jump out front?
You
Okay,
guys
so,
want a water or anything?
yeah, I'm gonna get one. So the time's 6:30, we'll adjourn to our regular session. Yeah, it is unusually quiet around here. Where is everybody?
No,
It's like holiday.
All righty, the time is 6:35, and we'll now convene into regular session. Our first order of business is citizens' appearance. Is there anybody here who would like to speak on an item not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to, or I'm sorry, Cammie, have we received any requests? Okay. Item 4 is the approval of the minutes from our October 19th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Is there any comments, or is there a motion by the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the planning and zoning minutes of October 19th, 2023.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Maurer. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a second by Commissioner Guerra. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bishop.
I was not there, so I abstained.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you very much. Item 5 on the agenda is a public hearing. This is to consider approval of PD-250R26R-H, Old Town Edition, Lot 4R, Block D, that being 767 West Main Street. Zoning change request from Plan Development number 250, revision number 26, historic, to Plan Development 250, revision number 26, revised historic, to allow for a 775 square foot ice cream shop and a 2,359 square foot speculative restaurant uses on approximately 0.25 acres of property located at 767 West Main Street at the request of Diana Ahmad. We have a staff presentation by Mr. Matt Steer. Matt.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. The plan development for the 10,215 square foot two-story mixed-use building with retail on the first floor and 2 residential units on the second floor was approved August 9th, 2022. The construction of the shell building is nearing completion. The applicant is proposing a 775 square foot ice cream shop and a 2,359 square foot speculative restaurant on the south end of the building. Because this was originally approved with speculative retail for the first floor, and because restaurant users have a greater intensity than what was originally approved, it requires City Council action to actually approve the request, and it cannot be done administratively. A detailed floor plan has been submitted for the 775 square foot Mr. Henry's ice cream shop. The floor plan indicates indoor and outdoor seating for 14. This is a new concept from New Zealand that involves mixing fresh fruit and ice cream, and this is available for dine-in or carry out. The proposed hours of operation for Mr. Henry's ice cream shop are Sunday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And then the speculative restaurant is 2,359 square feet. The hours of operation are Sunday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and then Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. The speculative restaurant floor plan is unknown. A brick dumpster enclosure is proposed to be located on the southwest corner of the lot, and this indicates that the brick will match the building and the solid metal gate will be painted to match the color of the brick. And because the proposed change is causing the need for a dumpster, staff recommends that the enclosure be set back from the south side lot line the same distance as the main structure at minimum. Ideally, the dumpster would be located in the middle of the site, and it's up to the applicant to work with Republic to ensure it's angled properly for pickup. The parking associated with restaurant use is 1 parking space per 100 square foot, opposed to 1 per 200 square feet for the already approved retail use. The parking analysis for the area has been updated to reflect the zoning that was approved for the corner of Bethel and Main, the southwest corner there. and then the increased parking for the restaurant uses of this particular site. And there is adequate parking in the overall Old Town Main Street Plan Development District. This shows a total of 1,022 required parking spaces, with 1,045 parking spaces being provided. Here are the renderings that were previously approved, and the dumpster enclosure will be required to be the same brick color to match the building, with a solid metal gate painted to match. The sign package includes a hanging neon ice cream cone sign on the north end, and this fits in with the unique signage allowed in the area, and a cabinet or a can Mr. Henry sign was proposed facing the square. And although a panel sign is acceptable in Old Town, a backlit can sign is not. So we have had discussions with the applicant, and they understand, and staff understands, that the can sign will be redesigned to be an opaque aluminum and will not be internally illuminated, but will have exterior arm lights shining down on the sign. And then the other, it's recommended that the Director of Community Development have the authority to approve the signage for the speculative restaurant, and this is included as a condition within the recommendation. We sent out 19 notices within 200 feet. We received 0 letters in favor and 2 in opposition, which I'll read into the record here. The first was concerned about the dumpster, and says the dumpster needs to be located greater than 10 feet from the property line, and then says please show dumpster location. The next one says hours of operation should be consistent from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. The second comment they made were deliveries should not be made between 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. and should be at front of building. The third was to minimize visibility of trash compartment, and rodents are an issue. The fourth says prefer no bar or majority liquor sales to maintain family neighborhood. The fifth was concerned about number of vehicles and traffic to our garage access and kids bicycling. So those were the 2 that were sent in opposition. Staff is in support of the request, subject to the conditions outlined, and understands that restaurant uses will actually draw people to the area and contribute to the vision that we've created for the area. We're recommending approval subject to the following conditions. 1, that the dumpster enclosure shall be set back from the south side lot line the same distance as the main structure at minimum. The second, a grease trap shall be installed sufficiently sized to accommodate both restaurant users. The third is to redesign Mr. Henry's can sign to an externally illuminated white aluminum panel. And the fourth says final signage designed for the speculative restaurant shall be allowed to be approved administratively by the Director of Community Development. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. The applicant is in the audience as well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Matt. I did have a question regarding the hours of operation. That was, is it in alignment with the other businesses in the Old Town? Are there any concerns regarding the proposed hours of operation?
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, that's in alignment with what's going on out there.
Okay. Any other questions of staff by the commission?
Yes. In terms of the grease trap, do we have a minimum size, or what do we require from a minimum standpoint?
We do have a minimum 1,000-gallon grease trap, but we've been working with the applicant through our environmental health department. We'll make sure it meets the requirements.
Okay, great.
Okay, is the applicant here to present the case? Would you like to come down, please? If we can get your name and address for the record.
Sure. Diana Ahmad, my address,
Uh-huh.
137 Kings Ridge Drive, Coppell, Texas, 75019.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to the application from your
Yeah.
perspective?
Yes. So if you could do the drawing for the dumpster. Sorry, I just want to bring one thing. So We were trying to have the dumpster on this side because we wanted to have a really nice like brick enclosure. And the issue with having it and anywhere else pretty much on the lot, the parking spots are all like 9 feet. So that means we would not be able to do a brick enclosure anywhere else on the property because the brick enclosure requires at least 8 inches additional for the size of the brick and for there to be enough clearance for the dumpster, to be able to put it back in to this box. So we were a little bit concerned about having, they said like to match the building, it would actually be black panels because the hardware is black. And so it's going to be like this ugly black box in the middle of the parking lot, and it's going to look really aesthetically not pleasing. I feel like, we really want our property to look nice. We want it to, kind of match and, kind of look like how a property should look like. And I've never seen a property really with like a dumpster in the middle of between parking spots. Like here will be parking, here will be parking, here's a dumpster. And then if there's cars there, that's very, dangerous for a dump truck to go between, if there's not enough clearance. So even having the little additional space on the side, at least with the brick structure, it's actually giving a little more barrier room also to the cars that would be on both sides, having a bigger structure. So that's the only thing I wanted to point out about the dumpster part.
Okay, very good. And you're in agreement with staff conditions as presented?
Yeah, if the dumpster is in that location, then yes.
Okay. Is there any staff concern, Matt?
Mr. Chairman, so we did some analysis in terms of what would fit there, and using the exact same measurements that were displayed on their site plan, we easily fit a dumpster in this location, although, the angles will need to be adjusted for trash pickup, but I don't think they would have to reduce it or change the material type to the metal panels. I think they could still use the brick, so that's consistent with our recommendations, so we would leave that in there as our recommendation.
Are there, I see the issue here. We have a kind of unique site, and are there other sites there in the old town that have a dumpster in the middle of the parking lot?
Well, we do have one that is north. That was the old Simmer restaurant and became Doty's, and now is the Tangerine Salon. They do have, it is not on their property line, but it is a metal panel. But that was approved originally with the restaurant use. This is a retrofit coming in. I think the dumpster enclosure should match the building and be of the brick design.
Okay.
Can I say one thing about that?
Yes, ma'am.
For the Tangerine Salon, it is a different situation, but their dumpster is all the way to the right. Even though it's not along their property line, there is nothing to the right of their dumpster on their property there, isn't it? It's just that metal kind of box. So, so that's a little bit of a different situation. But even their metal box doesn't look nice. It would look much nicer as a brick. It looks off and odd in the alley.
Correct, yeah, and
not
it's
being
within
brick.
the alley, so there is some flexibility. If you guys did want to go ahead and allow for a metal panel, we're not completely opposed to it, but we do feel like because this is a retrofit and, it is close to the visibility of the intersection here off of Travis Street, we think brick would be nicer.
On the southern side?
In this location, we feel like brick would be nicer too. And we feel like they can make it work.
Is that a deal breaker?
That would be a deal breaker. And my architect, Bill Pack, he said, that he's like, good luck having a brick structure because he said it's 8 inches more space that's going to take as opposed to the metal paneling.
Right here, you do have this extra area here and this extra area here that you could take away and still have your 9-foot parking space dimension there.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I've been trying to work through this. Normally, we work through the issues before we bring cases to you. And this is just something that we disagree on, so.
Okay.
May I add something, please?
Just say, we'll get you there in a second. Okay, any other questions of staff by the commission? I'm sorry, or the applicant?
Really for Matt, just for confirmation, so what's driving moving the dumpster again, just for confirmation?
Nowhere in Old Town do we have dumpsters that are directly on the property line. They are at least set back the same distance as their main structure. So that's our ask, is for it to be at least the same distance as the main structure.
Thank you.
Yes, in terms of the size of the dumpster, I realize that the other restaurant space is speculative. Do you feel it's sized appropriately for what would come into that space? Obviously, I'm guessing the ice cream use probably doesn't generate a ton of trash. How are you thinking about the size of the dumpster, whether it's oversized or undersized?
Sure. So if we do like a 4-yard dumpster, that should be sufficient for the ice cream shop. I mean, it'll definitely fit in the brick enclosure. The measurements are roughly 4 by 6 feet, so there's enough clearance. For the 6-yard, it only increases by another foot, so it goes to 5 by 6 feet. So that should actually still be sufficient, depending on what kind of restaurant. Obviously, we're not sure, what might come or not, or if it's going to be 3 spaces and 2 small restaurants and 1 retail, or, and so forth. They're still fine-tuning that. But we do have a little bit of flexibility. All of the dumpsters by Republic are pretty much 6 feet wide, so they will fit even other sizes. But that should be more sufficient. And we can do, and realistically, we probably will be doing, multiple pickups in a week, if it's going to be, 2 restaurants or whatnot. So we would make sure, the property always looks beautiful, always clean. I'm, a little bit of a neat freak, so I would always have it looking nice and making sure the tenants are keeping the space looking nice.
Okay. And then, do you have any concerns or reservations about the externally illuminated sign in terms of not providing enough visibility to the signage?
No, I mean, we're pretty flexible as long as the sign looks nice and so forth. I mean, I know that, the city said they can kind of get really creative, the tenants or whatnot, with the, lighting and so forth. So, I mean, I'm not too concerned, about it.
Okay,
not being
great.
lit up.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Are you part of the application?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the project manager, also my husband.
Okay.
I work for her.
Understood.
9 to 5, he's my employee.
Hi, my name is Ahmad. The only thing is, it's not about the dumpster, it's not only the looks, it's also a technical situation, because if we put it in the middle, right behind it will be the grease trap and all the electric meters and whatnot, right? And it's going to be between the 2 garages. We have 2 garages for each apartment, and they're like 18-foot garages, so 2 cars. It's kind of like, it's going to make it like a, kind of crowded in there. This is my opinion. We're trying to get it as far away as possible from the residents, tenants, garages. So if we put it, I know Mrs. Andragon, our neighbor, doesn't like it in the south corner because it's close to where they park their cars, but at the same time, it's not going to be, an ugly, exposed dumpster, It's going to be an enclosed brick, matching the building, nice gate, and, like the city is concerned, we are also concerned, and we will do everything we can to protect our investment, right? So we're going to make it look nice, and we'll keep it clean.
Okay.
So. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicants?
I have one last question for y'all. I guess, when you were working with the city, did you contact Republic just to see if there are, is it possible to do this? And
Yes, so I got the measurements and everything from Republic. We have our dumpster right now from Republic, so I talked to the lady there, and I actually asked her, we have an ice cream shop, probably another tenant. I'm concerned, do you think 4 yards is too small, and so forth? And she said, you can have a pickup every day if you're concerned about it filling, too fast, but she said it should be more than sufficient, for the ice cream shop at 4 yards. But, we definitely will keep an eye on it if it's filling and, and so forth. We obviously don't want to have, any issues or anything like that. One other thing about the parking, so how they're proposing it, putting in the middle spot and getting, kind of removing like the space you're saying, I would have to remove those 2 buffer zones between where the driveway is and where those parking spots are. And it could, possibly work, but I really think that, whenever you have a driveway, there should be a tiny bit of space from, like, for example, let's just say that it's like a pizza shop or something. You have a delivery guy and he's going to that door that's right where that circle is, where that grease trap is, and he's pulling, he should be able to pull up to, close to the door. But now he's going to have a dumpster on one side and he's going to have a driveway. Let's say there's cars. I don't know, I just feel like there's a little bit more concern. And let's say then the trash company needs to come and do the pickup, and they're doing theirs, and you have the driveways full, you have the 2 parking spots full. It's going to be very hard for that dump truck. He's going to have to go between the 2 cars. And now you got rid of the buffer zone for the driveway. So it's just, if we do it just like how it is right now, it makes sense, it'll look nicer, it'll be more functional, and it'll definitely be more aesthetically pleasing for the property than having some black box somewhere in the middle and hoping that the trash company will figure out how to go from an alley and turn like that in the middle. I think it'll be even harder, since that property line, there's 10 feet there of usable space, in that setback area. And each of the parking spots right now are only 9 feet, so we would have to get rid of maybe all 3 of those buffers, to make extra parking spot, or we lose our parking spots.
Okay. Matt?
All right, well, how about if we move it just up right there and then angle it?
Then it's,
You might lose 1 parking space, but, do you know which direction the trash truck is coming? Are they coming from the south or from the north?
from the south, right? From the south.
From
I
the
think,
south.
I have no
So
idea.
you could angle it a little bit this way and
If it's in the second spot, kind of like where you're referring to, we would lose a parking spot and then move it over. It's going to be literally right in front of, let's say they're walking from their garage into the apartment. They literally, that's a weird thing to look at, like what you're proposing right now. I think if it's
Well,
kind of straight.
so the
yeah.
idea is for all the truck maneuvering to be in front of your site or near your site. So
Should I
you
say
wouldn't
it?
want them to have to traverse over this property because they're not causing the need for the dumpster.
Sure.
So it would be,
A good number of
incumbent on you to figure out how to make that work, that maneuvering to work on your site. So I'm just tossing it out there as a suggestion, kind of a compromise, is, rather than having it way up here, you could angle it and put it down here, and it would make some sense.
How does that work? That makes a little bit more sense than being in the middle, for sure. I understand like the angle, but I kind of think when you have it angled that way, it's going to make them curve onto the neighbor's lot once you have it kind of curved.
Well, I think it's going to
You
have
think?
to be, it's
Some
going to
type of
have to be
angle?
somewhat
It has to be
angled
angled
in
somehow,
order,
yes.
in order for them to
Right,
get
okay.
in and do the pickup.
So we could do it angled, but within that 10-foot setback?
It doesn't have
Kinda-
to
I
be
mean-
10 foot.
Yeah,
It's
Not 10
generally,
foot, but I'm saying the back
it can be within that 10-foot. I'm not really concerned. I was really wanting it to be, offset from this south property line and the maneuvering to be on your property, so. But yeah, we're not really supposed to design here
Yeah,
at this
that's
point,
exactly what I was
so-
going to say. Is this something
Okay.
that can be worked out, subject to approval?
Yeah, if you want to make that a condition that staff and the
Make
applicant.
this, hold on.
Cindy, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No questions.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. We have a few folks signed up to speak. I'll just go down the list here. Ann Dragon, followed by Jonathan Jascott, followed by Abe Traba.
Good evening. Ann Dragon. I own the property at 779 West Main. I also live here in Coppell at 727 Bentry Court. And we own the building next door, and we also run a business, our own business, so we are there every day. We're not leasing it out to others. And I am opposed to the dumpster being on the property line for the same reason they are opposed to it being in the middle. Because that is a parking spot for our car that would be right up against there. And for the same reason they don't want it in the middle, because they're concerned about parking their car next to it, is the same reason I'm concerned. And I'm not driving the need for this dumpster. I was in support of the retail and the 2 apartments upstairs just a year ago. And the fact that they have designed this building and the lot such that it doesn't easily accommodate the dumpster for them is being driven by this planning and zoning change. And so I'm asking you, since they are asking this request, that you make sure that that dumpster is placed on their property. And another concern that Matt brought up is that even during the construction process, they have come across my driveway and cracked it as they're bringing over their forklift with the pallets of brick. So I am very concerned with it being as close as it is to the property line, that they will, Republic, because the driver's going to try to get in there as easily as he can. And so this is not a good situation because they don't want that dumpster on their property for the same reason I don't want it next to my property. And our garage door is as close as their garage door would be to it. So I'm just asking you to consider that as part of this request.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Jonathan Jascott. And then followed by Abe Traba.
Hi, thanks for seeing me. I didn't have much. I kind of voiced my concerns in kind of my reply. I think the only thing I wanted to add was probably a concern about lighting we have in the back. It's quite dark on that back alley. And, you know, until now, it's a very quiet street because really these are mostly all businesses. So there's no traffic really at night except for the houses. And we even have a separate road. But kind of my concern would be mostly lighting at this point. You know, that we've talked about, there's kind of probably going to be more traffic now that there's a business kind of open past, you know, 7 o'clock that may have customers or employees driving back there. So that's kind of my concern, and just hours of operation. Again, you know, we just have family kids. We're, you know, walking back there, bicycling, and we're going to have a lot more traffic because that's one entrance for sort of our neighborhood and the business. So just kind of hours of operation and lighting back there is kind of my concern at this point.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much.
thank you.
And Abe Traba.
Hello. Only concern I have is I'm 734 Hammond Street, which is backs to the business, and you know, within the alley, the concern that I have is delivery hours. So when Doty was there, and Doty's just on the backside of my house. Their truck deliveries comes in at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. You know, the engine's revving, the beeping, all of that stuff, and they stay for hours there. So I don't know if the city has some kind of mandate for delivery hours when the business backs up to residential. But when we called back then, which is like a few years ago, it was nothing in place. So I don't know if that's my concern. So
I'll get some comment from staff here in a second.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's it. That's
Okay.
all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak for or against the? Sure.
Just a quick note on Mrs. Dragon's note. I wouldn't say 24/7 at the site, okay? None of my contractors broke her brick or her parking or her concrete pad, because when we were bricking, yes, one of the guys did drive the forklift on the side, and he did make marks on her driveway, which is her driveway extends. It's not against the garage. They have about a 12-foot parking spot added all the way to the property line. Now, I have pictures. I took pictures actually before we started the construction of the alley and of the parking, her parking. Our trucks did not break her pad or her concrete. Actually, I spoke to her that day, and she said that the truck broke the lid for the Frontier. They have a concrete lid.
Mm-hmm.
She said that our truck broke it. I have pictures of it since we were moisture conditioning the pad, like when it was dirt. I'm just saying, this is number one. It's not, I'm trying to put a dumpster not on my property. Actually, my property extends 11.8 feet into the alley. That's my property line. And I am asking to put a dumpster on my property, but towards the south end of my property. You know, she referred a couple of times that put your dumpster on your property. Well, it is my property, you know, and it's really up to you guys, but
Can I say one thing?
I mean,
So one other thing, she had mentioned that the concern about the dumpster truck, fitting in, and she was saying, next to her spot, she was concerned, will it be able to go through or whatnot. So the difference with, for example, having, the parking when we were going to move it or whatnot, our parking spots are 9 feet across. The parking spot that's against our property line on Andragon's side, it's 12 feet. So there's a lot more clearance for her to be able to park, and our dumpster will still be plenty of space away from really where her car will be parked in that spot compared to where, the dumpster will be. So, it won't be like her car parked and the dumpster right there. That's a much bigger space where she has before our property line than we do between our spots. So it'll be a lot, easier on the south end, for the truck as opposed to between 2 9-foot parking spots that cars are going to be in. I just wanted to point that out. So there's a difference in that space of her parking spot versus our parking spots, 3 feet difference. So.
I do have a follow-up question for you.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the comment regarding deliveries, what does a typical delivery schedule look like for the ice cream shop?
So, I have not specifically asked the tenants, but I'm sure they're not going to have it at weird hours. But the difference also, the deliveries won't be in the back. Where they're leasing out from me,
They don't
have
have
access to the rear. So their deliveries have to be delivered from their front door. And I'm pretty sure, because even with like the hours, I think I made the hours maybe a little bit longer than what they even said that maybe they'll actually be open, but just to have some, a little bit of clearance room in case they need to come a little bit before they open and so forth. But, I mean, they are here, we can ask, but no, just knowing her, she's not going to be at 2 o'clock in the morning, she lives in Dallas, coming to Coppell. I'm pretty sure, just
Well,
talking with
but
them.
it's
Yeah.
the residents.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we would ask them not to have deliveries, of course, late night.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
definitely.
mean, we're concerned as much as everybody about the noise, the cleanliness, I mean, we have 2 apartments, and the cost of building those 2 apartments is 70% of the whole project. And we don't want to kill those apartments by having noisy businesses, by having businesses that sells liquor or sells
Like, we're not going to have a
I mean,
bar, we're not going to have. things
loud
bringing-
or
And even, like, for example, like, we have a house in Coppell, in 3 years when our daughter graduates from the high school, most likely, I mean, not most likely, there's a very
maybe.
good chance that we're going to sell our house and live in one of the apartments. So even for us, we're thinking, like, okay, these are 5-year leases. We don't want something that we would not personally want to live above, just in case we move in at any time. So, we would definitely not allow, noise in the middle of the night or when we're sleeping and have him cranky and, and stuff like that. So, I mean, we would be very, very, concerned ourselves about that, side. Okay.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on this item as part of the public hearing?
Can I say one more thing?
I'll allow it.
Ann Dragon, 779 West Main. They mentioned that they spoke to Republic. I also spoke to Republic. In fact, I specifically spoke to the driver of the truck that services our area. And he explained that his truck is 20 feet in length. And in order for him to have the forks out, it's an additional 4 to 6 feet. And so if you look into what their standards are, they're looking for a 45-foot runway in order to pick that dumpster up, dump it, back up, and keep right on going. And that's going to drive going across, cutting across our property. So I just wanted to share that. I know they spoke to Republic in regards to the size of the dumpster and, how much they would need, how large of a dumpster they would need. And I'm not sure that any of us will really know that until the restaurant gets in there and the ice cream shop, or even if it changes to something else later, in the future. But whether it will be 1 dumpster or 2, but that's another reason why. I just want to make sure that it's not on the property line, that it's set back a minimum of 10 feet. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I'll close the public hearing. Matt, I wanted to follow up with you on a couple of questions here. So the restaurant is kind of the speculative piece here. And given the comments regarding when Doty's was in operation and the deliveries there at that restaurant, if this restaurant comes into fruition, I mean, are there times for deliveries, like restrictions on deliveries?
Right now, there are not. It's up to you. You can place restrictions if you wish. We had delivery restrictions on the Kroger, and they had residential adjacency. They said no deliveries between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And it becomes an enforcement nightmare for Kroger, specifically because you have a lot of drivers that try and get there early in the morning, and then they have to sit somewhere to wait before they can deliver to Kroger. So in this instance, I'm not concerned about the Mr. Henry's ice cream making any deliveries. They're going to do it front door anyway. You can put delivery hours and on the.
So the restaurant would have deliveries from the front also?
I would think that they would have it from the front, but, they do have a back wall here where they could potentially go out from the backside, so.
But is there a door there?
There is not currently a
So
door
if they
there.
wanted to put one.
There is a door here? Okay. Okay,
Okay, then.
yeah. So they could potentially have them from the alley there.
Okay. Okay. Any final questions from the commission with staff?
Yes, Matt, in terms of the hours of operation, that's not a condition, correct? That's just, they're proposing them, but they're not restricted to those hours, or are they?
Once they do get written into the ordinance, so they are restricted to those hours. So that's why I asked them to give a little bit of buffer.
Okay.
So if say, tenants change, then they can have enough hours.
But there are no restrictions on other businesses in the Old Town at this time?
In terms of hours?
Yeah,
There probably are. The other restaurants would have restrictions in terms of their hours. They would be written into their PDs.
okay. As long as it's something consistent from my perspective. Okay. Any discussion by the commission?
Well, I
Greg?
do have one last question. So with condition number 1, you're basically stating that you want that dumpster in that center area, is that correct? I just want to,
No, that condition number 1 says that they need to set it back at least the same distance as the building setback, at minimum. So I was giving the ideal location to you guys, so you could see where they could potentially locate it.
And Cindy, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. As far as precedent, as I recall, the dumpster for the Coppell Deli is on the south side of its property, adjacent to the next property. Is that correct?
I'm not absolutely sure. I can pull up the aerial.
That's right, because I eat there a lot. So. It is. Okay.
So with your comment there, Cindy, you're suggesting that if there's another business with the dumpster on the property line, that there ought to be some latitude in the consideration?
Correct, exactly.
Matt, do you have an aerial that you can pull up?
I'm not sure if I've got access to it on this. I can pull up Chrome.
And then, Matt, was it contemplated on the north side of the property?
I don't believe it was ever contemplated at that location. Unfortunately, I can't pull up an aerial here.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, the chairman said it well. I mean, just if it's been allowed for another business in the Old Town area, I think it should be allowed for this one as well.
Matt?
Right. So this is a PD, and they can request any deviations to their setbacks. It'll just be written in the ordinance.
Okay. Okay. I guess final deliberations here. I'm sympathetic to the adjacent property owner. It sounds like there's already been issues during construction. Hopefully you all things work out better where you get along as better neighbors. But I see her point. I mean, her business with the dumpster on the property line, I get it. That putting it there on the property line kind of creates this negative impact on her. And I get it. This is a retrofit issue, and it would create kind of the site's kind of difficult to work with, so I kind of get it. That's why I was actually suggesting it earlier, approvals if this thing could get worked out, past this, but I don't know, I'm kind of thinking we need to put some conditions here on it now, because but at the same time, I was not aware, and Cindy, you mentioned that from the other business that dumpsters on the property line, so it kind of sounds like things could be across the board here. So I think I'm more sympathetic to impact to the adjacent property owner, and kind of in line with staff's recommendation of putting it in the middle, only because of the negative impact to the adjacent property owner. I do like the idea of putting some hours of operation, some restrictions on delivery, something that's consistent with others there in the district so that there's no negative impact to the residential, the residences that live in that area. And so if it is at 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., if that's consistent with what other businesses have done, I'd be in favor of incorporating that too. But those are my comments. If any other deliberation or final discussion?
I tend to agree with you. I think, for example, condition number 1, we should state where that dumpster will go. I think it'd make things a lot easier for the city and for the property owner to work through those issues.
Yeah.
So back to my other comment was, I mean, is there, outside of the center of the property, is there any other option outside of that that could be accommodated?
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, well, so like I was saying was, if they shift it to the north, it might not be exactly the same setback, but that would create some offset. It might not be the 10 feet, but that could be a good compromise in terms of they don't want it here, and it would be less of an impact to this neighbor down here, and they could maybe lose a parking space.
And what was the reasoning why it couldn't be on the north side?
Up here?
Yeah.
Can I answer that, please?
I've already closed it down. I'll have staff address it.
I believe they were there's a residence up here as well. So
Okay. All right.
it was less of an impact next to a business than another residence.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is that?
Okay. Any final comments or a motion? Then I will go ahead and.
Before you make one more final comment.
Yep.
So what I'd potentially suggest is, I guess in terms of the motion, if the option to have, your suggestion, if that is an option to move it slightly north, if the, I guess the condition wouldn't prevent that. So if that's an option, or in the middle of the property, to give a little bit of latitude so it's not locked in. I guess the question is, does the condition, the way it's written today, give you the latitude to move that?
Well, no, it would not give me the latitude because it says at minimum it needs to be set back the same as the south side. So you would have to amend that condition.
But it sounds like we need to give some guidance here, some direction, at least our recommendation. So with that, I'm going to make the motion that we accept the staff recommendation with the dumpster in the middle as identified, and that there be additional conditions of hours of operations for deliveries, no deliveries between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And so that would serve as my motion for approval. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Haas. We have a second by Commissioner Guerra. Cammie, would you call the roll?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name.
I'm sorry? Yes, plus the, as stated. Yeah.
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay. Thank you very much. But I think we can create a win-win here. I hope so. It'd be great to have an ice cream shop down in Old Town. So hopefully there's the opportunity for that to come to fruition. So thank you for the submittal and best of luck there. Going to move on to item 6 here. This is a public hearing to consider approval of PD-311R-LI AstraZeneca overhead tank line, being a portion of Lot 3R1, Block 8, Park West Commerce Center. A zoning change request from Plan Development number 311 Light Industrial to Plan Development 311 Revised Light Industrial to allow an overhead tank line from the accessory tank farm structure located to the existing office warehouse on approximately 8 acres on a portion of Lot 3R1, Block 8, located at 508 Wrangler Drive at the request of ML Realty on behalf of AstraZeneca and being represented by Alan Hager of DPR Construction. We have staff presentation by Ms. Mary Peron Boswell. Mary?
Good evening, Commissioner. So AstraZeneca is a pharmaceutical company located on Wrangler Drive. In September of this year, AstraZeneca brought forth a request to construct a tank farm on this site that would allow them to expand their production to meet their increasing demand for their Lokelma drug that's only manufactured here at this facility. So here we have the tank farm that was approved in September in blue. And then they have, part of that request was also to allow for a phase 2 of 3,000 square foot building addition if required. So council approved the addition of the tank farm for the site with the lines going underground from the tank farm to the main building. Since this was approved, they have started detailed construction engineering and are now requesting a change in the method of moving the chemicals from the tank farm to the building. So the original plan, as I mentioned, shows the lines from the chemicals to go underground from the tank farm to the adjacent building. What they're now requesting is to allow the chemicals to travel in an above-ground pipe rack that will take the materials from the tank farm to the building. No other substantive changes to the site plan are proposed. So the tank farm is here in blue. The overhead pipe rack would be here, and the pipe rack would be located towards the back half of the site. It's about 517 feet from Wrangler Drive, and it would be painted to match the building. So the columns would be landscaped. The columns will also be located in landscaped areas which provide further segregation and protection from the parking lot traffic flow. Sorry, so that's just to kind of show a tanker can go under that. So the pipe rack is proposed to be 7 feet 9 inches tall, 12.5 feet wide, and elevated so that the bottom of the pipe rack would be approximately 23 feet from the ground, approximately 10 feet higher than the top of an 18-wheeler, as we have illustrated here. So a benefit of the pipe rack system versus the underground lines is the accessibility to do maintenance, inspections, and repairs if necessary, versus the underground pipe vault, which would need to be enclosed, sealed, and would require sections of the parking lot to be dug up if they need access to the underground pipe vault, and it would be more disruptive to the overall operation of the site. So the proposed pipe rack system would be exterior to the building, and the enclosure would span between the tank farm and the existing building. The top of the pipe rack would be installed between the parapet line and the tank farm building roof line, so as not to add additional elevation to the tank farm design. The enclosure would have removable panels to allow for maintenance and inspection access to the enclosed components, so the piping, heating, trace cabling, instrumentation, leak detection, instrumentation, exhaust fans, etc. Like I said, parking for this would remain the same as what was approved previously, and the overhead pipe rack system would be installed in a landscape island with bollards in place to allow for separation from the parking area. So that you can see on the bottom right as well. So this just kind of shows you, if you were standing at Wrangler Drive, you would have to look way back to kind of see that pipe rack system. That pipe rack structural support columns, they meet certain BSI, PAS 13 guidelines. Let's see, the deep foundation, it has a wind load rating system designed to withstand a wind rating of 120 miles an hour. They have a leak detection system, automation and controls. The system can be shut down safely if there's any flow or leaks detected. Obviously signs on it, so you know if your vehicle can pass under it, but as we stated, it's fairly high up. And the piping would have double contained and fully welded with minimal mechanical joints. And this is just another rendering to kind of show you what it would look like. Just for reference sakes, the 18-wheeler that's going under it, typically they would not go in this direction. They would be going back around the other side of the building. But this is just to kind of show you that if they did indeed have to go this way, they would still fit underneath that. So again, this is a public hearing. We did send out notices within 200 feet, additional courtesy notices within 800 feet. Earlier today, we received one letter from CISD and just says undecided. That's what they checked off. So staff is recommending approval of the request with the following condition: that there may be additional comments during detailed engineering review, and 2, that if this is approved, that they paint the pipe rack to match the building. This is the end of my presentation, and the applicant is here as well to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mary. And can you refresh my memory, what are the materials that are going to be coming across?
I will have them answer
Okay.
that.
We'll get you here in a second. But I guess where I'm going with my question is it hazardous materials versus something that's non-hazardous? So that's, we'll get the applicant.
Yeah.
Any questions of staff by the commission?
Yes, Mary, 2 questions.
Sure.
The first question is, I'm assuming that painting the pipe rack, it's the actual like fascia and the box
Right.
that's surrounding it. Okay. And then are the bollards standard height so that if a trailer would hit it, it wouldn't go above the bollard? Because in the rendering, they looked relatively small, but it just could be the rendering.
I'm sure we could get it as tall as we need it to be. I think this was just something that they put together just
Sure.
for the rendering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, the applicant here to present the case.
Good evening.
Welcome back.
Yeah, glad to be here. Alan Hager with DPR Construction Residences in Arlington, Texas, 5607 Ferris Drive. And Jerry Doyle here is with us, who is one of the lead engineers operating the current facility. So I think we can answer your questions safely. So I don't botch it. You can tell them exactly the chemical content passing through. It's same as before, but instead of underground, will be overhead. So.
Yep. Jerry Doyle, 9728 Barksdale Drive, Fort Worth. First, most importantly, sorry we returned so soon after you guys already gave your support and approval for us to expand the manufacturing capacity. But this is a design enhancement. It was a work in progress. A little bit of background, like when we first started this and started the conceptual study, we're in a leased site. And like our preference was to do the pipe rack from day one. That's the industry standard. That's a better design. But the options were a pipe rack or pipe vault. And we poorly assumed what the landlord and property owner would want and would prefer. So we went into this assuming they would prefer the pipe vault. And in 2021, when we met with them, we presented both designs, but at that time, the pipe rack design we presented was not something that was aesthetically pleasing that they could support. So that was, we presented a poor design. Once we got into the more detailed design and we saw the complexity of the pipe vault and how difficult it would be, one, it would be disruptive to the operations while we're doing the construction, but then how difficult it would be to operate and maintain, like to not have access. That's when, after we got your approval, we revisited it with the landlord and property owner. We redesigned this pipe rack, made it much more aesthetically pleasing. And when they saw the new design, they're much more in favor. They saw, it actually brings the building together. It doesn't look like two separate buildings anymore. So they were very much in favor of the new design. To answer your question about the chemicals that we're transferring to the site that we use for our manufacturing process, they're all corrosive materials. So it's hydrochloric acid, colloidal silica, zirconium acetate, and sodium hydroxide. But they're all in, we're currently using those in the existing facility for our manufacturing process. So same materials, they're corrosive. The enclosure, that pipe rack, is fully enclosed, leak-free enclosure that has leak detection, automation, and controls. In the event, if there was a leak, the system would shut down and be contained within the enclosure of the pipe rack.
Okay, that was my concern.
Yep.
You know, recognizing that probably a truck wouldn't go through there, but things happen, and so that was the concern there. And then I guess to Ed's point, the bollards, is that kind of a standard?
Yeah, so
design?
The safety guide rails we're looking at are the same ones that are used by like Amazon, the airports. It's a safe guardrail that are BSI PAS 13 compliant, and you could go as high as you want with them. In the renderings, we put it up about 3 foot high, but even the design engineering team that we're working with, DPS, they said we'll probably have to go higher just because of the exact thing that you mentioned. So on those columns, one, structurally, we're going to put them deep foundations. They give it more, make it more rigid, more support. We're encasing them in concrete that goes 3 feet high, and then around it, we're putting that guardrail.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for that information. Any questions of the applicant? Okay. And thank you for the background. That helped to do.
You're welcome.
That was, my thinking was, maybe that was part of the design. We come in first, get approval, then we can.
No.
Okay, but thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Cindy, did you have any questions of staff or the applicant? I'm sorry.
No, I do not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion by the commission? Or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of PD 311R-LI AstraZeneca overhead tank line.
With the conditions?
With the conditions, yeah, as stated.
We have a motion by Commissioner Guerra. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Marr. Beat you there. Okay, Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you very much. Best of luck there.
Thank you.
Okay, item 7 is the update on council items. We received that review by staff in our work session. Item 8 is adjournment unless there's any other comments by staff on any item.
No, just have a good Thanksgiving, everybody.
We'll have a happy Thanksgiving and also the appointment of planning and zoning commissioners.
Yes, you've been reappointed, so.
The current 4 that were up were reappointed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can do it again, huh? Okay. Thank you very much. All right. With that, I'll close our Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The time is 7:39.